Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. Had a great day yesterday at the Hancock County Fair. Just a great kind of fair weather. Needing a jacket in the morning and lose it about lunchtime. Beautiful blue skies and clouds, so hope you get out and enjoy one of Ohio's county fairs. There are several yet to go this year. Well, the United Sorghum Checkoff Program recently announced the launch of the first human clinical trial to evaluate whole grain sorghum's health benefits, conducted by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and co-funded by USCP in partnership with USDA's Agriculture and Food Research Initiative Commodity Board program. This landmark study will investigate how daily consumption of two whole grain sorghum varieties, a traditional white sorghum and a phenolic-rich sumac sorghum, influences health key markers such as insulin resistance, inflammation, and gut microbiome composition. The trial is designed as a randomized crossover study in adults with obesity. Throughout the study, researchers will measure changes in insulin resistance as well as secondary outcomes like body weight and composition, blood pressure, blood lipids, antioxidant, and inflammatory biomarkers. This first-of-its-kind human study is a direct result of sorghum producers' commitment to scientific research, said the Director of Nutrition and Food Innovation of the Sorghum Checkoff. Tim Lust, CEO of the Sorghum Checkoff, noted that the study's implications extend from the field to the consumer's marketplace. Sorghum farmers have always known this crop is special, and now we're proving it on the biggest stage. Human nutrition, Lust said. This groundbreaking trial is not just a research milestone, it's laying the groundwork for sorghum's future. The data will be crucial as we pursue qualified health claims for sorghum with the FDA and collaborate with food companies on new sorghum-based products that deliver on nutrition and sustainability. It's an investment that we believe will pay dividends in the form of greater demand and value for our growers. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Scattered showers trying to work into Ohio here to start the day. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast update. We saw a frontal complex start to work southward through Michigan overnight last night. Here today, it's knocking on the door. It's going to be throwing some rain shower action into Ohio through your Thursday. Now, to be clear, the bulk of this moisture looks like it wants to be in the northern part of the state. I-70 northward is where I'm really keying on here. I won't rule out a few spits and sprinkles south, especially as you get over toward the Dayton area, but I just don't think it's a big deal south. 60% coverage today with rain totals anywhere from a tenth to 3 or 4 tenths over the state. That's what I'm looking at before we clear out overnight tonight. This frontal boundary actually is going to do a pretty good job of drawing down some cooler air again. And so we're pleasant for the weekend, tomorrow, Friday, right on through Saturday, Sunday, and Labor Day. Very comfortable, low humidity. Temperatures are pleasant in the afternoon, maybe even a little crisp in the morning hours. And then as we get into Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, we're starting to see a little bit more warm air come back up from the south and southwest. Some instability may trigger a pop-up shower or two in western Ohio on Tuesday, but I'm more watching a front overnight Wednesday night into Thursday that can bring anywhere from a tenth to 3/4 of an inch to about 75% of the Buckeye State as it passes. Behind that front, we are cooler again to finish the week. For Friday the 5th, we stay that way through Saturday the 6th, Sunday the 7th. The week of the 8th also starts with a front likely late Monday night the 8th into Tuesday the 9th, and that front could end up with 80 to 90% coverage there. So there is some rain on the way, but not a lot to get too super excited about. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work. Here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
I'm joined by Dr. Laura Lindsay. Laura's the OSU Extension Soybean and Small Grain Specialist. Laura, as we are moving through August right now, sort of that late season time for soybeans to think about different management decisions, I guess as growers go out and hopefully are walking their fields a little bit, what are some things they should be looking for?
Sure, this is a great time to walk your fields, not in terms of the weather. It's kind of hot and humid, but it's a great time to look at your soybean plants. There may be diseases showing up. There may not be a lot you can do right now in terms of spraying fungicide because it's getting late, but it's good to see what is there so you can make plans perhaps for next year. Another thing to look for are late season insects. So the two that I think about this time of the year are stink bugs and beanleaf beetle. And it's good to pay attention to those fields that were planted later. They'll stay green later this fall while everything else is dying, and you may see more insects attracted to those green fields.
Great information. Again, our guest today, Dr. Laura Lindsay, OSU Extension soybean and small grain specialist. Laura, thanks so much for your time and the update today.
Thank you.
And today's update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
And thanks, Dusty. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announced the U.S. Department of Agriculture has taken the next step in the rulemaking process for rescinding the 2001 roadless rule by opening a public comment period. We are one step closer to common sense management of our national forest lands. This marks a critical step forward in President Trump's commitment to restoring local decision-making to federal land managers to empower them to do what's necessary to protect America's forests and communities from devastating destruction from fires, said Secretary Rollins. It is vital that we properly manage our federal lands to create healthy, resilient, and productive forests for generations to come. We look forward to hearing directly from the people and communities we serve as we work together to implement productive and common sense policy for forest land management. For nearly 25 years, the roadless rule has frustrated land managers and served as a barrier to action, prohibiting road construction, which has limited wildfire suppression and active forest management, said Forest Service Chief Tom Schultz. The forests we know today are not the same as the forest in 2001. They are dangerously overstocked and increasingly threatened by drought, mortality, insect-borne disease, and wildfire. It's time to return land management decisions where they belong, with local Forest Service experts who best understand their forest and communities. The public is invited to comment on the potential effects of the proposal to guide the development of the Environment Impact Statement no later than September 19th, 2025. Back with more after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
Are you involved in Ohio agriculture and do not get Ohio's Country Journal in your mailbox? You're kidding, right? Hey, it's Ty Higgins. It's free to subscribe to OCJ, but the information you'll get about current crop conditions, market analysis, new innovations in technology, policy, and more is invaluable. Subscribe or renew your subscription by September 20th, and you could win a $250 Visa gift card. Visit ocj.com/renew to get Ohio's Country Journal and read what you've been missing.
Average retail fertilizer prices were evenly mixed during the third week of August, with half higher and half lower than the previous month, according to sellers surveyed by DTN. The four fertilizers with a slightly higher average retail price were DAP, which had an average price of $847 per ton, MAP at $906 a ton, Potash at $485 a ton, and UAN 28 at $419 a ton. MAP was above the $900 per ton level for the first time since the third week of December 2022. That week, MAP's average price was $909 a ton. Prices for the remaining four fertilizers were down slightly from last month. Urea had an average price of $635 a ton, 1034O $669 a ton, anhydrous $762 a ton, and UAN 32 at $484 a ton. Brazil Potash Corp announced recently the execution of a definitive commercial offtake agreement of a wholly owned subsidiary of the company and the Brazilian subsidiary of Keytrade Ag, one of the world's leading fertilizer trading companies. The binding agreement establishes a 10-year take-or-pay commitment for Keytrade to purchase up to 900,000 tons of potash annually from Brazil Potash Company. This agreement with Keytrade is a major milestone in Brazil potash commercial development. Matt Simpson, CEO of Brazil Potash, said, combined with our existing take-or-pay agreement with another company, we now have binding commitments for 1.45 million tons of our planned 2.4 million tons of annual production. Also, Tuesday at the Farm Progress Show, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker announced a new ammonia fertilizer plant to be built in Illinois. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. For marketing information on your beans to LDC, call 574-566-2113. With our analysis, here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished mixed on Wednesday in an interesting day of trade. The day was basically devoid of significant headlines. Let's start on the demand side. Once again, no daily sales announcements from USDA or the Foreign Ag Service for the third day in a row. U.S. exporters report that U.S. corn and wheat import demand has slowed significantly from the active pace that we saw earlier in the month of August. End users and importers have covered their needs into the end of the year and are unwilling to chase the rally with a North American harvest just starting. EIA ethanol report out yesterday, producing 315 million gallons of ethanol in the U.S. last week. That was steady with the week prior and with last year. Ethanol stocks did fall 6 million gallons to 947 million gallons, but they're up 6 million from last year. Gasoline consumption in the U.S. rose to 9.24 million barrels per day. That was up almost 500,000. There's no compelling reason for the WASDE report to alter any of the U.S. annual ethanol grind forecast of 5.5 billion bushels. As we look forward, ethanol production margins are positive. Production looks to hold steady, so it's not going to be a bad demand story, but we're not going to pick up any new demand in any kind of growth or development there. The average trade estimate for the Thursday Stats Canada report is 20.3 million metric tons of canola, 35.9 million metric tons of wheat, 2.5 million metric tons of oats. Last year, the 19.5 million number on canola was fairly standard. 34.5 million on wheat, 2.9 million on oats. The fear is right now that the canola estimate could be larger than expected based on favorable Canadian summer weather. Otherwise, the talking points yesterday had to do with just nobody wanting to be in the market to buy any corn or beans, and Black Sea wheat prices have been retreating over the past week or so. Ukraine and Russia both are seeking wheat import demand to North Africa or to the Middle East. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. I'll have the overnight figures after this. Think biodiesel is just another fuel? Think again. Biodiesel is Ohio innovation on the move. Clean, green, and built to keep diesel engines running strong. It's an engine booster, a soybean supporter, and an environmental champion all in one. Every gallon reduces emissions, strengthens Ohio farms, and powers your ride. Drive with purpose. Choose biodiesel. Learn how at soyohio.org. Today's market is brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, September corn unchanged at 382.5. December down 1/4 cent, 405 3/4, and March down 1/2 cent at 422 3/4. The September beans are down 1/2 cent at 10.26 3/4. November down 1 1/4, trading 10.46 1/4 cent. The May down 2 cents at 10.92. There's hope in wheat. September up 1 1/4 at 503 1/2. December up 1/2 cent at 524 3/4, and March up 1/2 cent at $5.43. In livestock, August cattle closed up 75 at 243.25. October up $1.32 at 239.52, and December up 97 cents at $240.90. The October lean hogs were up 47 at 93.90. December up 57 at 86.50. And February up 50 cents at $88.62. Feeder cattle weren't left behind. September up 35 cents at $365.40. October up 42 cents at $364.20. And November feeder cattle up 70 cents at $362.52. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Dale Minyo. This is the Ohio AgNet.